Man, I've been dreaming really good lately. Having lots of awesome, lucid dreams. But yeah, the one I had this morning. Oh, and then I did have another one a few days ago where I was going into the medical office and I went up to the counter and I was like, oh, whoops, I forgot my paperwork. But anyway, it was a really long, drawn out. It was longer than that, but and she's like, oh, don't worry. We'll just give you another one to fill out. That was like kind of lucid dream, like virtual reality lucid dream. But then I had this other one today that was a lot better than that one I had a couple days ago. And so, let me think. Wait, let me go get something. Okay, hold on. Okay, let me think. God, man. I hate it if I start forgetting little pieces of crap. Okay, so this morning, I had a virtual reality lucid dream that I went inside the medical building and I started waiting, in the area, in the, what do you call it, the patient area, and there's chairs and everything set up, and I noticed a bunch of the employees, they just seemed kind of rude and everything, like organic portals, they just seemed kind of rude and didn't really care and stuff, as they were walking around and stuff, and kind of snarling at the patients. And so I was, the waiting room, I guess that's what it's called, the waiting room. And so I was just kind of walking around waiting for my appointment. And then, I started sitting in some of the chairs and stuff. And like I say, as I was observing the employees, some of them were kind of like, some of them may have been like LPNs or something like that. They weren't doctors or anything, and they were younger, and they just seemed kind of like rude. Okay, so then the doctor came out, but she was like a white woman. She kind of looked familiar, about 50 or whatever, kind of light hair. She came, and she was real friendly. She came walking up, to the back behind the desk to the desk workers. Yeah, the desk workers, they were kind of rude too. The desk workers, she just came walking up and had a question, for one of the, the desk workers, the front desk workers. And I looked at her and everything, and she seemed real nice and friendly, and then she walked back in the back. And I thought that was going to be my doctor, like allergist or whatever. And of course, I'm about to go see one on Monday. Hopefully it'll be beneficial. I don't know if these doctors around here know anything about celiac and what's that called? Cross what's it called? Cross something. Not cross cross reaction with rice and corn. Okay, but anyway, so and I thought they, the front workers made me believe that she was, the one I was going to see. Damn it, and I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I thought I'm forgetting some stuff that happened at the beginning. But I don't think so. The part that I was, that I thought I forgot was the part that I just said, like the workers, they were walking around. But I think I am forgetting some of the conversation, some of the things that they said, and I think I am forgetting that. Some of the things I said or they said, but anyway, they were rude and everything. Okay, so finally, they called me back, and so I was walking along, the left side of the building, or the left side, back behind where the front desk was. So I started walking along, and then, I saw some workers walking around, and I saw all the bunch of medical equipment and everything. on the left side and the right side. And on the right, oh, wait a minute. I know what it was. Oh, yeah, I remember what it was. Something about, oh, yeah. At the beginning, like I say, as I was sitting there in the chairs and stuff, I was shocked that nobody had masks on. And they said that we didn't really have to wear masks. And I was like, well, they told me I had to wear a mask or whatever, you know. But anyway, so yeah, so that was kind of cool. That nobody, I thought it was kind of funny, nobody had masks on. And then they said, we don't have to wear them. And so nobody had them on. Okay, so then, but here's the part that's kind of contradictory. Okay, so as I was called back, you know, I saw some more workers walking around, some employees, and to the left and to the right was medical equipment sitting there along the hallway or whatever it's called. And then over to my right, when I looked up, there was a female worker. I don't know what she was. I don't think she wasn't a doctor. She was just like a worker, a desk, or just one of the workers, or like a receptionist type of woman, or maybe she was an LPN or what do you call it, or something else, technician or something. But she wasn't a doctor, and she looked kind of young, like 30s. But she was kind of up, so she was kind of, what do you call it, elevated. She was kind of up on a higher level, you know, and there was like that plastic plexiglass, you know, in front of her. And she kind of looked down at me, and she was kind of looking at me and giving me telepathic messages that, you know, you really should have a mask on. But then it was so funny. So she was kind of trying to protect herself from me as I was walking along. And like I say, she was kind of elevated up, like in a little, you know, little stairway that kind of went up into this little building. I mean, not building, this little room, you know, kind of up. You know, like when you go to the movie theater, the film and those people, those workers, they're up. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so she was kind of up in this little area, this little room. Not room, it was smaller than that, just this little area, elevated. And she kind of looked down at me. And she started pushing it. She started pushing the plexiglass at me. You know, it was kind of movable, and she started pushing it at me just, you know, because she was trying to, you know, protect herself from germs and stuff from me. She was just trying to push it closer to me because she thought that would help. And I think the aliens got that idea because in real life they put plexiglass up at work. You know, and my coworker was like, see, and she was pushing it along in real life. She's like, it's gonna fall right off, this plexiglass, because it's movable, you know, the stuff at the workplace in real life. And so the aliens, I think, got that idea of pushing it, making that woman push it towards me. But I didn't say anything, and she didn't say anything to me. It was just body language. Okay, so then, as I got around, okay, so I walked a little farther back, where you couldn't walk anymore. It was just window, a big window or whatever. And well, at this point it's kind of weird because at first when I was in the reception area it seemed like ground level, but then as I started to go back and see the doctor, it seemed like it was not ground level, but I don't know, like 6 or 7 stories high, and it was all like glass, like window. And so then and then I turned around the corner, took a right, and then took another right. Well, actually, no, I went up. Oh, yeah, I walked around for a while because I knew I had to be in suite. It was like suite, let's see, what was it? 100, what was it? Suite 100H? 1H or something like that. And I kept getting confused. I kept, you know, like getting confused. Like, where's 100H? And so then I started walking around, and I saw all these suite numbers with letters behind them or after them. And finally, I asked one of the workers, "Where's, you know, like 100H?" And then she took me to the proper room. And you know, it was a normal size, you know, just normal size, like a little office room, and that's where the doctor was. And I was like, "Oh, is this one?" I was supposed to be in like one. it was either G or H. I think it was H. I was supposed to be like 100H. And she's like, yes, this is it. But it was really, the H meant like, what'd she say it meant? 100. She said it meant like horse or something like that, like 100 horse. It was kind of weird. But anyway, I knew I had to be in like suite 100, but it either said 100H or 1H. And anyway, that part was kind of funny because she said it really meant, it didn't mean just letter, it meant like horse or something like that. So I was like, okay, whatever. Okay, so then she had her worker in there with her, like she was behind a desk, this doctor, and she had a worker. I guess she was kind of like the assistant. The worker was there. She was a white lady. I can't remember, what does she look like? Oh yeah, I do. She had like short brown hair. She was a white lady, but the doctor was like totally, Hispanic. And she had really black hair, totally Hispanic, and she was probably like late 50s or whatever. And she was like, and talking like, well, actually, some parts I think she was talking Spanish. Other parts she was talking English, but it sounded more like Spanish, and like I couldn't even understand her. It was so funny. So anyway, but like, okay, so I was trying to ask her, does she know about like food allergies? And at one point she walked off and walked back in the room, and she said something like, no, we just pretty much deal with like grass allergies and stuff like that, because she said food allergies was just more, what do you call it, self-explanatory or something like that, because you could just like weed out the thing that you think you're allergic to. Well, anyway, she said she didn't have much business doing the food allergy stuff or whatever. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, why did I waste my time and stuff? And so she, I was trying to tell her I couldn't understand you, because she was just talking real fast and shit. And like I say, sometimes it was English, sometimes it was Spanish. But even when she was talking English, it sounded like Spanish or something. And at one point, like, she put her head, like, or I put my head, like, up next to her. I can't remember if she put her head up next to me or I put my head up next to her. And our faces were touching. Because I was like, I can't understand you. You know what I'm saying? She was like totally Hispanic, black hair, dark brown eyes or whatever. And so that part was funny. I don't know where the aliens get these people from. They just create them, but it's so funny. Okay, so, and basically this whole scenario lasted, non-3D time, 2 hours or longer, maybe 4 hours. You know what I'm saying? But, of course, then the whole actual lucid dream probably lasted, 15, 20 minutes, but when you're in the scenario, it lasted 3-4 hours in non-3D time. But anyway, but at one point, this part was kind of funny. At one point, like I say, like when I was walking around trying to find, the actual room I'm supposed to be in and the actual doctor, I probably walked around, 10, 20 minutes or whatever. And when I was roaming around the reception area, I was probably waiting around in there for like an hour or whatever. Observing, this, observing that, and, observing the employees and everything walking around. But here's the funny part. Okay, so at one point, when I was in her office, it seemed like we were just on normal ground level. Well, then all of a sudden, I guess a lot of time went by, and then all of a sudden, there was all this, this big old window, like, behind me in her office, this big old window, and I looked outside, and it was, like, dark time. It was dark time, like it was all black. It was dark time, and that's when I noticed it seemed like we were 6 or 7 stories up. So that part was kind of funny. But at first when I went into her office, it was just like normal daytime. And it's weird how the aliens could do all this. But they've done that before, where I start a scenario, and it's daytime, like almost seems like 2 p.m. And then when I get done with the scenario, it almost seems like 7 p.m. And it'll be almost getting dark outside or whatever. But yeah, and then I had many other ones this morning too, but right now, I'd have to think real hard for it to come back to me. But this one was the most significant. But yesterday I had several too, but one of them was kind of hilarious. The one I had yesterday, and I had several yesterday too, and I've already like probably forgotten them, except for that one I'm about to tell you. It was kind of hilarious. But yeah, so I'm having all this stuff in my scenario because well, now I can't eat corn and rice. And so now it's kind of like, what the fuck you gonna eat? You know what I'm saying? You can't eat shit. You can't eat any kind of processed shit. But guess what? I found a bunch of paleo stuff. So now you can't look for gluten-free stuff. You gotta look for paleo shit. Because it doesn't have rice or corn in it, but you still gotta make sure it's gluten-free. And I did find some bars I could buy, those Lara bars. But I don't like the ingredient of vanilla. But there's some of them that don't have vanilla in it. Because vanilla, I know, has alcohol in it, and it could be from corn or whatever. So I don't trust that ingredient at the moment, because right now I've been reacting to, you know, eating corn, straight up corn or straight up rice. I don't know if I'm so, you know, sensitive to like derivatives and shit, but to be on the safe side, I don't want to eat anything that I think could have corn, rice, or alcohol derivative. I don't really like that either. Cream of tartar is like an alcohol derivative, but supposedly it doesn't have any gluten in it, but I don't trust that ingredient at the moment. But so some of those Lara bars, I don't know if they're gonna have the same one up the street that I just bought on the internet, that coconut one. It does not have vanilla in it. So I found some of those bars I'm gonna buy. I mean, they may taste like shit, but I'll just kind of learn to like them. Because I had been eating those, oh crap, I can't remember what they're called. Crap, what are they called? Not Luna? Oh yeah, Luna bars, and they kind of taste like shit, but they have some corn derivatives. So I stopped eating those. I'll have to give those to the possums or whatever. But, and like I say, I may not really be, well, if there's not proteins in the derivatives, I shouldn't have a problem with the derivatives. People that have an actual allergy, then they may have a problem with derivatives and stuff. But anyway, so I don't know, this doctor on Monday that I go to, like, she should know about, I don't know if I'm going to the wrong doctor. Let's see, I'm thinking she should, I think I'm going to the right doctor. I think she should know about stuff like that, you know, celiac people and corn and rice and stuff. I'm guessing she knows, she might know a little bit about that. I don't know. But so anyway, yeah, they kind of tasted like shit, but you can kind of, you know, learn to like something if you really want to. But these Lara bars may be pretty good. They have like a chocolate coconut one, and there's just 5 ingredients, and there is no vanilla in it. But yeah, I'd be going to bed at night, and I'm like, why do I still feel weird, like I'm getting, well, like I'm about to be gluten, and it's not giving me any kind of, it's not really giving me, what do you call it, stomach bloating or anything like that. All these reactions. It's just more mild reactions I keep getting, but it's still affecting me real bad and giving me insomnia all night and stuff. So, you know, I gotta stay away from the rice, corn, and wheat, of course. But I haven't eaten wheat since November. Unless, I mean, I got gluten in February, unless that was from the corn. But I'm pretty sure it was from gluten because it felt like a wheat glutening. Because Walmart, they don't take great care into really certifying their products. And like I say, no wonder I reacted when I ate. But that did give me colon blow when I ate that not TGA. What's that called? That fucking GS. What the fuck is it called? TSO General fucking Chicken. TSO General Chicken. When I bought that shit at Aldi's, it was gluten free, but it had nothing but cornstarch, corn powder, rice starch, rice powder. Well, guess what? That's like 100% corn, 100% rice. And I ate, it was actually pretty good. I ate like a huge bowl, and a couple hours later, I started bloating, and my stomach was like gurgle, gurgle, and it started bloating, and I shit like 11 times. so that was more, I don't know why that was more hardcore. I don't know if I reacted to all three things. Maybe it had too much gluten, weak gluten, maybe. And I was, reacting to the rice and corn because I did not know I was having a problem with rice and corn at the time. But I had been eating those Evol meals, and that has hardcore rice, hardcore corn in it. But, but it has no wheat gluten. And it hadn't been giving me diarrhea or anything like that, but I still have been getting reactions like I'm about to be gluted, and then it starts wiring my brain. It makes you real shaky and anxious and irritable, and then you get, not irritable, anxious. Then you get insomnia all fucking night. Well, me, I don't like my sleep to be fucked with, because then I don't dream good if I have insomnia all night. So like I say, I only figured this out in the past, the past few days, that I can't handle rice, and then a couple weeks ago that I can't handle corn. Because it still has gluten in it, and your body is still picking up on the gluten, even though it's not wheat gluten. And my body is still reacting. So, so the experience I had yesterday, and I had millions of lucid dreams, even this morning, but for whatever reason, I think I just only want to remember the good one. But I know I had some other good ones, and yesterday I know I had some other good ones, but the one that was kind of funny was I drove up to like a cashew, it was kind of like a, cashew, like one of the, God damn it, dumbass. Fucking pop-up box. Apple ID verification, fuck off. Okay, so, so it's like I drove up to a little, it was a little food place, but it was like a little shoebox, like you drive up to a little cashew chicken place, except this was, that looks like a little shoebox, you just drive up to it. You can't go in and sit down, it's just shaped like a shoebox. You drive up to it and you get your chicken. But this was, it was similar, like a little drive-up restaurant, just a drive-through, looked like a little shoebox, like they have some, what's that coffee shop called? Like the coffee shop or whatever, I forgot what it's called. And you just drive up and get your food. But, okay, so I drove up because I had waffles on the brain. Oh, yeah, well, see, that's why I tested it out to see if I could handle rice. Because I knew I couldn't handle corn, but I didn't know if I could handle rice. And so I went up the street and bought some Vans blueberry waffles, and they were so good. And they're even gummy, almost like wheat gluten. They're gummy. But it's all nothing but, rice flour. Well, I only ate half of it. And guess what? 2 hours later, I reacted. I ate it for dinner, half of it, and I reacted, and I had insomnia all night, and I still feel like shit. Because it was just, tonight will only be 3 days. So it'll take me several more days to start feeling good, probably. And I was like, oh man, I can't handle the fucking, blueberry waffles. But I'm going to take the fucker back. I'm not paying for that. I'm going to take it back, get my money back, and just say I accidentally bought the wrong box. But yeah, because it's gluten-free, but it's nothing but rice flour. And they were so good. And I can't even fucking handle it. Because it's rice. Okay, so yeah, so I'm going to take that back tonight. So, anyway, so I had waffles on the brain. And I actually just heated it in the skillet because I didn't want to put it in my toaster, because I know my toaster has major gluten in it from bread and shit. When I used to put wheat bread and stuff in there. Okay, so the guy that was behind the counter when I drove up to buy my waffles, the guy that was behind the counter, okay, so like I drove up, the little building was to the left, and then there was, a door, a window that he gave you the food through. It was a window, a big window, and then he was sitting there, and it was that guy at Aldi's, that young guy at Aldi's that's checked me out several times. It was him that was in the scenario, and I told him, I wanted to get some waffles, and I thought they were going to be kind of big, and it was so weird. Okay, this is so funny. He handed me this 3.5 inch, like small round little can It was like 3 inches high and, 2.5 inches wide. This little can of anchovies. He gave me the silver can of anchovies. It looked like something you would see, like a little, something you would see in an MRE package, a military package or something. I don't know where the aliens got that on the brain. I hadn't been having anchovies or sardines or anything like that on the brain. But he gave me he's like, here. And I was like, what's this? And he's like, it's a little can of anchovies. And I was like, I want, my waffles. And so I kept being persistent, and I kept sitting there because I wouldn't leave. I wouldn't drive off until I got my waffles. So then he finally gives me this waffle, and it's like totally raw and undone, and it looks gross. It's kind of all, crinkled up. And it was only like, it was just barely like 3 inches by 3 inches. And so he gave me this waffle, and I paid him like $7, and I was like, I'm not gonna pay $7 for this. And he gave me this raw, undone waffle, and I was like, well, isn't it supposed to be? I was like, I just want to make sure, I told him, I was like, well, isn't it supposed to be gluten free? And he's like, no, these aren't gluten free. And I was like, well, I heard, they're supposed to be gluten free or whatever. But anyway, it was just kind of funny. It was just funny. I don't know where the aliens got that little can idea. Tiny little can. Silver can. It didn't have any labeling on it at all. It was just silver can. It may have had a couple words on there, but it was mainly just a clear, just pure silver can. Something you would see like in an MRE package or something. But anchovies, it was anchovies. And like I say, well, actually, I think I did have just a slight thought of that several days ago. I think when I just had this random thought about pizza or whatever. Actually, yeah, so I guess the aliens took that from my brain. So anyway, but that was kind of funny. That was kind of, virtual reality, lucid dream. But then I had some more, though. I had some more, several weeks ago. Oh yeah, and this was when okay, so the aliens took me back to my mansion again 2 other times. That mansion that I had bought in my altered state, many, like a year ago or whatever. But then, like I say, sometimes the aliens put me back in there, and it was like my grandma's mansion, or, but it was funny. Okay, so yeah, so I was asking the aliens to give me some kind of, Game of Thrones theme or whatever, because I was watching Game of Thrones. Well, I still am, I'm not done yet. And, but this was like one of those real scary dreams. And I've had dreams like this before, but not in a long time. And so, yeah, so I guess the mean one kind of came to my altered state. So, okay, so I was walking around that same mansion, like up and down my mansion, up and down, up and down. And, okay, at some parts in this scenario, it was my mansion, and then at other parts, the thought was, I knew it was my Aunt Elaine's mansion. So that part was kind of weird. The aliens kind of couldn't keep up, or couldn't, what do you call it? Couldn't make up their mind. Okay, so I don't know, I was basically in my mansion, and like I said, at another point, it was my aunt's mansion. But I was walking up and down my mansion, and there's tons of people walking around. Some of my family members, and then some people I didn't even know, like their friends. They were walking up and back, walking around the mansion and stuff. Okay, and then here's another bathroom situation. Like, for whatever reason, I had to go find a bathroom. I had to go pee or whatever. So I went in the bathroom, and this was so hilarious. And then that's when I knew it was like, somehow I had the thought that it was my Aunt Elaine's mansion. And the shower curtain, this was so hilarious. The shower curtain was like a comforter. It was a comforter hanging up. Like a big old thick, big old 8-inch thick comforter hanging up. And I was like, wow, this is so weird. This comforter, this shower curtain, it looks so funny. And like I say, at that point, I had the thoughts that it was my Aunt Elaine's mansion. So anyway, so eventually, all these people, like not these people, about 4 or 5 men came barging through the front door of the mansion, and well, at some point I walked out of the bathroom, and I started walking around a little more, and then all these people started coming through, like, I don't know, like 4 or 5 men came barging through the front door of my mansion. And oh my god, their only agenda was just to freaking kill everybody. And I know the aliens, some mean alien got to my dream state, because you'll feel like, like really bad fear and stuff. And so basically, I started like running. I started running away, from the guys. There was like at least 4 or 5, and they had already, they were just like killing everybody. I can't remember if they were using guns or knives. I think they were using both. And so I started running, and then I hid. I ran into one of my rooms, like an office. It was like an office. I ran into one of my office rooms. It was just a big office with a desk, and my sister was standing around, and there was like a guy sitting there, and I don't know who he was. And I just wanted to get the hell, and hide from those people, because they were murdering everybody. But there wasn't any gore or anything in my scenario. And but I felt such like great fear and stuff. Okay, so I went into the closet, and I laid down on the floor. And my Patty was with me, and I hurried up and like grabbed Patty, my cat. She was with me, and I hurried up and grabbed her, and I was just hiding, and I was just like so fearful, and I was just hoping those guys were going to come in there and find us. And like I said, there's a couple other people in the office room. There was a guy sitting down at a desk, and then my sister, and then like 2 other people. And I was just trying to like tell my sister, like, get in here and hide with me in the closet. And then that was pretty much the end of the scenario. I never did get killed or anything, but it was just scary as shit. And well, anyway, in real life, poor little Patty, I don't know, every time I let a cat out, it's like they end up disappearing. But anyway, so she may have went off to die, I don't know, but I don't know, I just don't think she was ready to die yet. I mean, she looked pretty bad, she looked pretty unhealthy, but I don't think she was ready to die yet. So I haven't seen her in like 3 weeks. Because I let her out, she hops the fence, and she goes over there, just right there in the little woodsy area between the fences and the houses. So I know she's not far, but I guess in the fall time I'm going to see if I can find her bones. Because I know she's got to be in that general area. But I don't know, I just think it's kind of weird. My cats always end up disappearing or whatever. Well, what's kind of weird is that, a year ago, Precious kind of up and disappeared from the backyard, but Bonita said, she's like, she said Precious tried to jump over the fence, but she fell back into their fence, and she said she heard a noise. See, that's the strange part. Okay, what kind of noise did she hear? And then the next thing she knows, Precious was never to be found again. And so she's been gone almost a year. And then, of course, Patty I let out at 2 p.m. 3 weeks ago, and she never comes back. And, but the other thing, but this was, quite a few years ago, I don't know, maybe 4, this is probably about 4 years ago, I guess, or almost 4 years ago, that neighbor that used to live, right next to me where Patty goes in between the houses, there was another neighbor that, lived there, a woman with long brown hair. And she had this old cat, but and she asked me if I've seen her cat, if I saw her cat, and I was like, no. And well, apparently it went off and disappeared too. But it was old, so maybe he went off to die. But he didn't seem unhealthy either. He got on my front porch many days or months after she moved in, and at first I thought it was a dubbed cat because he was so friendly. At first I thought he was dubbed, but I didn't realize he was so old. And she told me that, and then finally I found out it was her cat. And then she said that he was old. But at one time she asked me if I saw her cat, and I was like, no. And she thought it was kind of anomalous too that he didn't, come around. He didn't come back. She wasn't thinking oh, he's old and went off to die, you know, she wasn't acting like that. He wasn't sickly. I mean, just because you're old, it doesn't mean you're sickly. And so he was old, but he wasn't sickly, and she thought it was kind of anomalous too that he never did come back. So it is kind of fucking weird, you know, that all these fucking cats are disappearing in my neighborhood. And it may really not be anything weird, but now that I think about it, I think it's a little weird. Now, over in the kind of ritzier neighborhood over by me, a few months ago, there was a missing cat, you know, flyer posted, a missing cat. And of course, but that's just a little farther up, not very far from this neighborhood, but that cat, you know, went missing too, you know, but that could have been a lost cat or whatever. But, I don't know, I mean, in my general, you know, 8 feet by 8 feet, or, well, let's say 20 feet by 20 feet square area, 3 cats go missing, you know what I'm saying? It's like, what the fuck? I mean, yeah, I don't know, it's just weird. I mean, like, you know, it's just weird. I think it's a little weird. Even though the other incident was, you know, 3-4 years ago, and then Precious was a year ago, and like I say, the older cat, that was 3 or 4 years ago, but then Patty was just 3 weeks ago. She never came back, but I don't think she was very, very sickly, she was, but I still think she had, you know, a little more time. I don't think she was ready to go yet, unless somebody told me that they can just choose to go if they want to. I don't know if that's true or not with animals, but it might be. Oh, okay, well anyway, so then I had this other awesome lucid dream, because I'm always going past Sue Mayer and Jimmy Mayer's house down the street, that white yucky house. They're the type of people that, well, they were kind of poor, you know, but they were the type of people that never did upkeep on their house. Their house still totally looks like shit. They never do any kind of upkeep on their house. I mean, even when I went in it when I was a little kid, many times it seemed kind of gross and dirty. And it's still like that, except I did notice they finally, several years ago, did put a new roof on. But other than that, it still looks kind of gross and dirty. But I went to school. That house is right down the street from the house that I grew up in, and I went to school with Jim Mayer and his brother, his younger brother. I can't remember what his name is or how much younger he is, probably 3 or 4 years. But anyway, Jim Mayer, I think, is even a couple years older than me because he was set back a couple years. The last time I saw him, though, I was, that was about 20 years ago, the last time I saw him at Steak and Shake. But now I think the mom died a few years ago. I think the dad recently died because I think there's just one kid living in the house. And I think it may be the younger brother, or maybe Debbie Mayer, I'm not sure, the sister. But anyway, so I had this long, drawn-out, lucid dream walking around and visiting Sue. No, actually not Sue. The dad. The dad was still alive in the scenario. But Sue, she was, in real life, you know, I knew she was dead in real life. So in the scenario, you know, she had already died and everything in the scenario. So I did not see Sue Mayer. But the dad, at that time when I had the scenario, I thought maybe he was still alive. I only, the past few days or whatever, that's when I realized, you know, I don't think he's alive. I think he died. Because I don't see that big old truck and stuff or whatever that he drove. So I think both parents are deceased now. But, so anyway, I had this long drawn out scenario and it felt so awesome. It was like, totally felt like you're in a different dimension. I was walking around the front yard, walking around inside. Oh, but here's the funny part. Okay, so I was walking around inside the house. I was conversing with Debbie Mayer, Jim Mayer, and the dad was walking around taking trash out to the front yard. And, so he was taking trash out to the front yard and stuff. And I was roaming around the front yard. And I went inside at one point and looked around. Okay, here's the funny part. And this lucid dream lasted, you know, several hours long. Okay, right there. Oh, and by the way, this is kind of funny. I actually kind of forgot about this lucid dream for several days, and then I guess I went to Walmart and I went down the street, And then I looked at the house and boom, like everything came back to me. That was really cool. And because I had just whatever reason, I guess, forgot about it or whatever. And then once I saw the house again, it's like boom, everything came back to me, and it was so awesome. But anyway, in real life though, the mom, she was part of the PTA. Sue Mayer was part of the PTA. But she was the first time I went skating at the skating rink up the street. I was like 4 years old, and she was holding my hand and taking me down the skating rink. Yeah, and I'll always remember that. She wasn't very old when she died. She was kind of bitchy and assertive. Like I say, she was part of the PTA. She definitely probably wore the pants in the family, because she was kind of that kind of woman. But yeah, and what do you call it? Authoritative or whatever. But yeah, I'll never forget that she, helped me skate when I was like 4 years old. But like I say, when she died, I think she was only she wasn't very old, either 70 or 72. And that was about 3 years ago. But yeah, like I'll always remember that. But yeah, so anyway, so I was basically, had this awesome lucid dream, conversing with the husband, Jim the first or whatever, and Jim, and then the father, and then Debbie Mayer. And there was a couple kids too in the scenario in the front yard playing with toys and playing with like little track bikes and stuff. And I can't remember if those were supposed to be like Debbie's kids or Jimmy's kids. I can't remember. But anyway, it was just a fun, awesome lucid dream. Virtual reality lucid dream. But here's the funny part. And like I said, I have been in that house in real life several times when I was much, much, much younger. Okay, when I went inside the house, I was like, wow, they basically what they did was, not in real life, but under this lucid dream, basically what they did was they converted, it was basically a mobile home. When I went inside, I was like, whoa, this is like a mobile home. But they made it, on the outside, they made it look like a house. But on the inside, it was totally like a mobile home. And that part was funny, and I don't know where the aliens got that idea, but that was really cool. And like I say, this whole lucid dream probably lasted 5 or 6 hours. And it was fun. Back to my... Oh, okay, yeah, so anyway, this other experience was weird. I think I don't know, the aliens got this idea, I think, from Game of Thrones or something. Oh, wait, no, what was it? What was I asking them? Oh, yeah, because I think that, well, anyway, I think they got it from the Game of Thrones, but this experience was kind of weird. But, like, so I was under this virtual reality lucid dream. I was driving along with a friend, and we were in, like, this ritzy neighborhood. And over to the left was this kind of ritzier, big house. And there was some, like, three college-looking students, and in the front of the house was this huge king bed. And I'm like, why do they have a king bed? And, like, my friend that was driving, I can't remember who she was, but she was familiar to me. And when I looked to the left, I was like, why do they have a big old king bed in their front yard? I thought that was kind of tacky. And I saw the college students, like, come out to the front of the house, and then they went back in the door and everything. And then all of a sudden, I knew that they had the king bed out there because they were waiting on some parts, to fix the bed, which is kind of funny. You wouldn't put your bed out in the front of the house, you know what I'm saying? But in the scenario, that was the whole thought process. So yeah, so they had it out there in the front because they were waiting on some parts because the bed was broken. So they were waiting on it to get some parts, from the mill or manufacturer or whatever. Okay, so then we started driving along a little more. And this is where the aliens gave me a roller coaster ride. And like I say, I think they got the idea from Game of Thrones, because I think I was trying to, like, I was telling them, like, yeah, give me, like, like a roller coaster ride down a mountain or something like that. So I think that's where they got this idea. But So the woman that was driving, okay, so after we passed that house a little bit, not far, but after we passed that ritzier house, to the left was like nothing but, well, it was like a mountain. There was like a mountain in the background, and it was just like a mountain, except it had all these really thin, I mean, these paths were no thicker than like 2 feet thick. It had all these thick, these thin, colorful paths. They weren't roads, they were just like a path. Like several paths, but they were all colorful. Like yellow, teal, light blue, light green, colorful, light red. And she was like, well, I think we're gonna take this road right here. And I looked down, this was over to my left, just like the house was over to my left, and then we started driving a little farther. We looked to the left, and that's where the mountain and stuff was. Down the mountain. And the mountain was behind us. But it was not a road, and she's like, okay, we're gonna go down this road. And I looked down, and I'm like, okay, that is not a road. And that was just like a mountain with little colorful paths, like 2 feet wide paths. There was like 20 paths, 2 feet wide, colorful. And then we started going down the mountain. We started driving down the mountain, and then we turned the corner abruptly to the right. And it was just kind of like a little roller coaster ride the aliens gave me. But that was kind of funny. Okay, yeah, so then this other... okay, this was back to my mansion again. Okay, no, this one wasn't fearful. This wasn't all scary and shit. But, are you guys sick of me talking, Torah? Am I too loud? Torah, Cesar. Okay, so this was on a Saturday morning, but this was probably about three weeks ago. Okay, so I went back to that mansion I told you about. Of course, this was a different scenario. I had this long drawn out scenario. This is a virtual reality lucid dream. Virtual reality, lucid dream, out-of-body experience, which they all are. And, okay, so I went back to my mansion, and I was walking along my mansion, and then I find myself in the bar area. I'm in this big old bar, and it's totally, vivid. All these experiences I'm talking about are totally vivid. I mean, just as vivid as, like, being in my house walking around. So I was walking around the bar, and there were just tons of people standing there having a party, and they were drinking liquor, and there was, servers and stuff, like bartenders behind the bar and everything, serving the drinks. And just a lot of people, and I didn't really know who they were, but it was in my mansion. We went back to my mansion. But I didn't know who all those people were, but I knew that they were having a party. And I think some of my family members were standing around and stuff, but I don't ever remember talking to them. And, okay, so then after I started observing the bar area, so then I go over to I walk over to the swimming pool area, and I start swimming in the swimming pool area. And, this part was kind of weird. Oh, okay, wait. Yeah, so I actually was in the pool, and I started swimming and everything. And then for whatever reason, this part was weird, because I had all this big old, I don't know what it was, black garbage on when I was swimming. And so when I decided to come up out of the water, I was like, oh, I forgot my big, suit or whatever it was. I don't know what the hell it was. It was just all this it was just like a big old black swimming suit. It was just crap to help me swim or something. I don't know what the hell it was. Because when I came up out of the water, I'm like, oh, I saw all that big black crap at the bottom of the water, the bottom of the pool. And so I was like, oh, I need to get that out of here, because I almost forgot it when I got out of the pool. So I swam back down there to try to, pull it up out of the water. But, yeah, I don't know why I would be swimming with that, garbage or whatever it was. Some kind of swimming crap, apparel or whatever. Or aids, swimming aids or whatever it's called. But yeah, that was kind of weird, and because I don't know what it was exactly, and okay, like I say, oh yeah, I forgot about this part. But as I was this is the kind of significant part. Okay, so as I was looking at all the people, I was looking at them very closely and their features, like men and women, when they were drinking and having a party. They were standing around, drinking and having a party, and there were tables and stuff. And so as I kept looking at some of the people, I was like, as I was staring at them, I was questioning. I was like, are those people really real? Or is it really just, virtual reality or whatever? I don't know why I was questioning that. I was like, are they really real? Because in the scenario, like, I did it when I was in the scenario, I really didn't think it was virtual reality. I mean, they were so real. I mean, like, I didn't think it was made up people at that time for whatever reason. I didn't think they were made up people. I was like, those can't be made up people. They are so real. But anyway, for whatever reason, I was questioning. I was like, are those really real people? Because they seem real. They don't seem like they've been made up through, virtual reality program that the aliens created or whatever. But I know it was. But for whatever reason, I was questioning that. And when I was in the scenario, I knew that they really were real, at least during this time, During this scenario, I knew that they really were real people. They were not virtually, digitally made up or whatever. But in real life now, I realized it was just a virtual reality created, people that the aliens created. They really weren't real people, you know what I'm saying? From another dimension or whatever. Well, in a way, I guess they could be, but, okay, so, and then the other part, so like I say, that part was kind of significant. And like I say, this whole scenario, it probably lasted, oh man, I don't know. I was, like I say, in this scenario, 4 or 5 hours, maybe longer. Okay, so then this other weird part. So after I was questioning whether those people really were real or they were made up, like virtual reality or whatever, I started walking around the corner into, I don't know, it was like I don't know if I'd call it a living room area, but just this other big area of the mansion. And there was this young black girl, and she was a cop. Oh, yeah, I did. Did I say I did it? I did actually talk to my sister, yeah. My sister was there with me at that time. And there was this young black female cop, except she didn't have her uniform on because she was just at the party. And I was like, Chrissy, I was like, look, here's this, I was trying to tell her, this is, this woman right here, she's a cop, but doesn't have her outfit and stuff on or whatever. And oh yeah, and she was saying, this black girl was saying she used to have, rougher times. She used to, like, not really have a job and all that, and wasn't educated, and, was kind of poor and stuff, but she got educated and became a cop. She was telling us all that. And she seemed to be a pretty good, cop or whatever. And, okay, and then there was this other, like, white woman in the background, and she started kind of acting up. And so the black cop goes over there and tries to calm her down and everything. But yeah, she was a really good cop and everything. But like I say, in the scenario, she was off duty, so she didn't have her uniform and stuff on. And I was telling my sister, hey, that woman right there, she's a cop. And but anyway, it was just kind of a fun scenario. But yeah, it's amazing how aliens can really do a trip on your brain, because when I was in the scenario, it's like, are those people really real? Because they sure do seem real. They do not seem like they're made up, like, virtual reality, made up or whatever. But I know they were. I know the aliens didn't really take me out of body. I mean, yes, I was out of body, but they didn't really take me, like, for real out of body. and stick me in a 3D scenario. But I know they have done that before though. But I don't know why they can't do that more often. Like right now, like if I fall asleep, like the split second before I fall asleep, you know, they take me out of body, and in real time, like say there's a party going up at the school up there, they take me up there, place me down, and I go around and I'm observing people. And it's like, wow, yeah, these people are real. This is real-time 3D. But they've done that before, because I know, but I haven't talked about those experiences yet in 2004, but I know they've done that before. But most all these other ones, you know, virtual reality, you know, just made up. Just totally real, but made up. Thanks for listening.